Hey y'all, it is Saturday night and it is day 1 of 7 Days of Live with Pam. Y'all are going to get tired of me, but we are going to go over some things and do some things that I've had a lot of questions about. So we're going to play with Crackle tonight, but I'm going to give everybody a chance to kind of jump on and we're going to kind of just chit-chat for a few minutes. Okay, I hope everybody had a fabulous Black Friday if you do Black Friday shopping. And I hope that you shopped local for Small Business Saturday because it was quite the weekend at my store. And it's been so much fun. Hey, Annette. Hey, Martha. Hey, Donna. I appreciate everybody taking some time out of your Saturday night to tune in and watch what we're doing. I'm hoping I can answer your questions and at least we'll have some fun. Hey, Dar. It is a little chilly out here in my favorite place. Hey, Sissy. I'm on the screen porch. Hey, Sandra. I love it. So you may hear the dogs barking in the background. I live in a rural area, so there's lots of night sounds out here that really doesn't have anything to do with traffic because of where I live. Okay, so what we're going to start with is I want to talk to you tonight about Dixie Belle Crackle. I used to use a different brand. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Linda. I used to use a different brand of Crackle. I used Modern Masters, and it was the best on the market. I mean, I've tried them all. You name it, Bear, whatever. I've tried every one of them. Don't like them. Modern Masters was absolutely hands down the best. Hey, Sandra. But Dixie Belle came out with their Crackle, and I gotta tell you, it is amazeballs. I mean, this stuff is the bomb diggity. If you want to use Crackle, Dixie Belle Crackle is the best. We're gonna try a little exercise today. I actually painted this. It's painted in the navy as my base coat. And we're going to see if the Crackle will work as cold as it is out here. I don't know that it will, but we'll see it together. Oh, I know. Roll Tide. Exactly. I was so excited. I can't even tell you. Okay. So, when you have Dixie Belle Crackle, this is what we're going to chat about. A lot of people think that Crackle is used a different way than it actually is. It has to have a base coat, and the Crackle is sandwiched in between the base coat and the top coat. So what we did was we painted this board in the navy. And I got to tell you, I'm not a blue person, but I'm loving this in the navy. Hey, Fatima. Hey, Jerry. It is a great base coat. So we painted these boards. They're just unfinished boards that I picked up off of the floor of my warehouse. Because I don't know that the piece that I'm doing right now that I want to Crackle. So I wanted to do an example for you guys so we can chit-chat about Crackle. But I don't know that I want to put it on the piece I'm working on. So I'm just going to show you quickly how to use it. You know I don't like long videos, so it'll be quick and painless. All right, so when you use Dixie Belle Crackle, you put a base coat of paint down. Hey, Patsy. Hey, Teresa. And you let it dry. And, oh, a winter storm? Yeah. I like snow, but I like to watch it on TV. You put down a base coat of paint, let it dry completely. Then you put on your Crackle, and you let that dry before you put your top coat on. Now, a lot of people struggle with Dixie Belle Crackle, and you would think that this is still wet if you looked at it. This is not still wet, okay? I put in the navy down on here, and I let it dry, and then I put my Crackle on. And I'm going to tell you a little secret when you're using Crackle. A lot of people brush it on just like you're brushing on paint. Brush it all the same direction. No, 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 no. If you want all your Crackle to run the same direction, then fine. Brush it on that way. But typically what you're going to want to do when you're applying Crackle is, doesn't matter what kind of brush you use. A lot of times I use a chip brush. But the thicker you put it on, the bigger the cracks are going to be. If it's thin, then you're going to have smaller cracks. It's going to look more like little spider web kind of cracks. The other thing is, if you put it all on in the same direction, your cracks are going to run that way. If you put it on willy-nilly, which is what I like to do, so when I'm putting it on, I do it like this, back and forth, kind of a crisscross pattern or a crosshatch kind of pattern, because I don't want it to have a definite pattern to it, because if it has a pattern to it, does it really look like regular crackle? I mean, if you look at an old piece of furniture that is truly crackled, does it really have symmetry? No, it does not. Does it have big crackles and little crackles? Does it have crackles going all different directions? Is it crackled consistently? No, it is not. So when you're recreating these finishes, that's what you've got to be mindful of. You've got to be mindful of the organic feel of it. Hey, Sheila, you want it to be very organic. So that's what you've got to keep in mind when you're recreating these finishes, especially if you're doing it as a profession. If you're doing it to sell, you definitely want it to have that unusual feel. Now, normally when I crackle a piece, hey, Terry, I don't crackle the entire piece. I crackle a little here and a little there and everywhere like that. For my example tonight, we are crackling this because this is just a small piece, and I want you to see how quickly it crackles. If it crackles, because it's so cold out here. We'll see. I don't know. But I want to show you, if it doesn't crackle, I want you to know that going from warm inside the house, which is a relative term because our house is only about 68 degrees, but going from 68 to 42, does that make a difference? So we're going to see that, but I'm also going to show you how to apply the crackle. So I have one that just has in the navy on it, no crackle. Oh, I know, Lynn, I do too. Hey, Ashley. And then we're going to actually apply the top coat to this so you can see it crackle. We are going to do this. Now, for my example, I'm going to show you that I'm just going to use a ratty chip brush because I don't care what kind of brush I use when I do the crackle. I know some people get way caught up in it, but I'm not really sure why. It's not a major life decision. It's a paintbrush and some crackle. So when I put it on, I don't go crazy with it at first, but I kind of just put it on. And keep in mind, this crackle is thick. It is very thick. So a lot of people have a very hard time when they're applying it, getting it thin. Some people put I already lost a bristle. That's not a good start, is it? I always keep my trusty wipes here. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back and forth and kind of do a crosshatch pattern if you do it my way. Some people don't want a very thick coat and they'll use a sponge brush. Whatever you're happy with, do that. I like to do it this way because if I'm going to crackle, you know me, more is more, right? I do usually use a damp brush when I use my crackle, just because I like a damp brush for nearly everything except dry brushing. Look at that. This old brush is going to give me 2 bristles while I'm doing a live. That's why. All right, or it may be my wild hair. Who knows? That could very be possible. Okay, so now when you look at this, can you see how much I have on here? But can you see that it's thinner up here than it is down here? It's thinner up in this area, but it's thicker down here. So now when I get ready to do this, when I paint over the top of this, I'll have different size crackles and they'll run in different directions because of the way I did it. Now again, I used a chip brush. I could have used a synthetic brush. I could have used a sponge brush. I can use whatever I want to apply it. A lot of people say they don't use their good brushes because they don't want to get the crackle in their good brushes. But I mean, clean them with scrubby soap. It doesn't matter what brush you use. Scrubby soap gets it all out of everything. So use scrubby soap and get it out. So now when we've applied the crackle, we're going to go over it again. I applied it thicker here than I did here. And I did kind of a crosshatch pattern because I want my crackles to run a different direction when it dries. And you have to allow this to dry completely. Hey, Ellen, and I'm going to tell you, when you are letting crackle dry, especially if it's chilly like it is out here, it will not dry for a long time out here as cold as it is. Even with the humidity low as it is tonight, since that front moved out, my hair says otherwise, but the humidity's fairly low. And thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that. My hair's a wild mess, but I appreciate that. But it'll take forever to dry. So typically when I'm using crackle, I try to keep it in a climate-controlled environment so that I can get the effect that I'm looking for. It's not like it has to be 75 degrees and sunny or something like that, but you want it climate controlled. So out here where I'm working, I would probably put this inside. I would probably put it inside to dry. If you're painting in your garage, put a little bit of heat in there, because if you keep it above about 60 degrees, it just dries so much faster. I got to be honest with you. It dries so much faster. But this is what we've done, okay? We have gotten this on here. Okay, now that you've seen how we apply the crackle, now what we're going to do is we are going to get the crackle off my hands, because I am the messiest painter you've ever met. And we are going to apply a top coat to this. Now, the other thing to remember is when you're putting your top coat on, and yes, my brush is damp. I already dampened it before we came online. You cannot overbrush it. So when you start doing your top coat, you get one swipe, because if you overbrush, you will brush away your crackle, okay? Not that you're going to brush away this, but your top coat will start crackling. And when you overbrush it, you get rid of that crackle that's already happened. So when you're brushing, go ahead and put it on. And another thing is, if your paint is a little thicker, it crackles better. So don't go stingy with the paint, because it's not going to crackle. Oh, Sandra, you're too nice. It's just not going to crackle the way you want it to. I'm just going to tell you, it won't. Keep in mind, too, I've got free shipping and free paint if you spend $65 or more. And we're going to top coat this and see. Now, this is our top coat of paint. We are not adding clear coat. So, I said top coat, and that's not what I meant. We're adding our top coat of paint. And I'm going to just wipe across it, and you'll get to see it start cracking. And you'll notice that I put a little bit more paint on than I normally would. I don't know what that is in the paint. And we're going to hope it crackles, because it's so cold out here. It's in the low 40s, maybe the high 30s, who knows? Not me. We're going to let it sit just a minute so you can see it crackle. All right. And it is crackling. Well, I got a piece of something in it. Of course, it's alive, so it's going to mess up, but I don't care. All right. So, now I'm going to hold this up. Can you guys see how it's already beginning to crackle? That quickly, in 40-degree weather, 42-degree weather, or whatever, it's already crackling. Can you guys see that? That's how quickly this stuff works. So when I say don't overbrush it, I mean don't overbrush it. You cannot go back over and say, oh, I didn't get as much as I want to. Load your brush when you start doing crackle, okay? Load your brush when you start doing crackle. Because once this mess starts crackling, and it's flipping awesome, and you can see, some places the crackles are bigger, and some places they're smaller, right? And the thing about it is, once this dries completely, you can do whatever you want to it. You can add glazes, you can sand, you can add a different color of paint. You can do whatever you want to, because this is going to crackle even more as it dries. And I don't know if everybody understands the process that happens, but what happens with this is, I'm sorry, I got paint all over my hands. What happens with this is you put your base coat down, which gives you your dark undercoat. And then, crackle nail polish, it's awesome, but this works the same way. So basically you put down your base coat, which gives you the navy blue that we've got down, in the navy. And then when you put your crackle down and you put your top coat on it, as it dries, it pulls apart and causes the crackle. So can you guys see? Some of these crackles are teeny tiny. See those right there? They're like little spider webs in the bottom. But then up top, see how much larger they are? Because I put the crackle and the paint on a little bit thicker. Can you see that? All right. So this is what a lot of people have been asking me about. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes with crackle, people get a little carried away with it. And it looks like a lot. So I would tell you, if you're going to crackle a piece, sometimes it looks much older. Hey, Karen. Sometimes it looks much older if you just crackle it in little places and not really big places and stuff like that. you know, just kind of along the edges and maybe the fronts of drawers and things like that. Now, can you guys see that the bottom board down here in this corner has less crackle on it than the top one does? I wanted you to see what creates big crackles and little crackles so that you can understand how to do it. And again, we're going to go back to our first board that we started with because I want you guys to see. This first board is our crackle board that we added the crackle medium. And you can see where it's thicker and where it's thinner. Can you see that it's thinner up there and thicker down here? That's how you define what size cracks you want. And that's the key to it. You can't control every single bit of it, but you can control it to a certain extent. So you can see as this one's drying, it's crackling even more. And you can see up close, can you guys see how great some of those crackles are? And once you put some wax and some Dixie dirt on it, you would never know that this was a brand new piece of board. Once you got finished with that, would you get you some wax and put you some Dixie dirt on this after it dries, it would look like something that had been aged for 100 years. It's simple to do. It takes a little longer than the average paint with Dixie Belle because the crackle does take a while to dry. But you can see just how quickly and easily you transformed it from just a bare piece of wood to this. And when I say this mess works fast, it's the bomb diggity as far as crackle goes. Because you can see it's just amazeballs. I mean, I have always loved their crackles since the first time I used it. It does exactly what crackle should, and it does it fast. So if you're looking for crackle, Dixie Belle Crackle is it's my favorite. It's the best on the market, in my opinion. And I'm not saying my opinion's right. I'm just giving you my opinion. Another thing that I was going to chit-chat with you guys about, several people have asked me why I do so many lives and don't charge for it. I really believe that when God gives you a gift, you're supposed to share it, and I can't believe that I get to do this for a living. So if I can ever be of any help to you guys, please let me know. I've had so many people ask about Crackle, and I'm sorry, I've just been so busy with custom work, I have not gotten back with you. I'm hoping that those of you who have asked me get to see this video and get to see the board that we started with and get to see the Crackle after we've added it so that you can see exactly how things go. But I will try to tag you in it, and if you have a friend that you want to share this with, I would appreciate it. And we're on day 1 of 7 days of Live with Pam, and I just appreciate you guys tuning in. If you need something, I've got a sale on through Cyber Monday. Thanks a bunch, guys. Y'all have a great evening. See you tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern Time.